hard work will once again pay off, where a trucker who delivers us the goods for 50 years will be able to live a good and dignified retirement. A country where young couples will be able to plan a new home in which they can have beautiful babies and raise a wonderful future for themselves and their families, a future where our kids can walk safely on the streets, where families do not need to peer out their window to see if their car has been stolen, or worse yet, leave their keys at the front door so that the thieves can simply take them as they please. A country that is proud of itself, proud of its history, proud of its heritage, and optimistic about its future. A country where the state is servant and not master, with small government and big citizens. A country that puts the common people first, the common sense of the common people united for our common home. Your home, my home, our home. Let's bring it home. Thank you. Thank you very much. Parliamentary Budget Officer testified that the majority of households will pay more in carbon taxes than they will get back in rebates. There is a table showing that every single province in which this tax applies, the middle-class families pay vastly more than they get back, and Canadians know it, because under this Prime Minister, they've seen their food, their fuel, their homes, their heating go through the roof. But why don't we just end the debate and let Canadians decide and have a carbon tax election?
The Parliamentary Budget Officer clearly spelled out that 8 out of 10 Canadian families in areas where the price on pollution applies get more money back every year than they pay in the price on pollution. That's because we created a plan that not only is one of the strongest plans to fight climate change in the world, but it puts more money back in the pockets of middle-class Canadians as we build a stronger future, better careers, more competitiveness, and a safer environment for generations to come. That's the plan we have. That's not what they're doing.
The $60 million Arrive scam is just the tip of the iceberg. We now learn that there are $5 million in additional fraud that has been identified by the Department of Public Procurement. And this is out of the $21 billion the Prime Minister is now spending on outside consultants, a 100% increase, and fully with the support of the NDP. Can the Prime Minister tell us how much of this $21 billion is fraud?
The situation is obviously unacceptable, which is why authorities are looking into this procurement process. Anyone who took advantage of our COVID response to save Canadian lives should face consequence. All federal contracts with these companies have been suspended as the investigation continues. But everyone in this House noticed how quickly he pivoted from a question on Ukraine. The reality is, Mr. Speaker, his members are ashamed of him for forcing him to vote against Ukrainian Canadians, to vote against Ukraine, to vote against support that the Ukrainian president was asking for.
Prime Minister demonstrates once again he is a fake and he is a phony, because he's a fake and
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition is a very experienced member of Parliament, and I know that he would understand that that kind of a statement that directed to an individual would not be considered parliamentary. So I'll ask the Honourable Member to continue with this question.
The Prime Minister is a fake and a phony on this issue, just like on everything else. He sends...
Eric? The Honourable Member, again, is a very experienced member, and he knows that when the Speaker asks him to chastise us a little bit for the use of language which is not considered parliamentary, I'd ask him please to rephrase, withdraw those comments, rephrase the question without using those words.
Mr. Speaker, this is a Prime Minister who authorized the export of gas turbines to pump gas from Putin's economy into Europe to fund the war. He's someone who signed on to allow Russian detonators to blow up Ukrainians on the battlefield, and he's a pro-Russia energy policy to fund the Russian economy. We'll take no less.
That is pretty weak sauce from the Leader of the Opposition. The reality is, President Zelensky.
I see that the opposition House Leader is asking members to be calm. I'm going to ask all House Leaders to please ask all of your members from all sides to be calm. So, and I'll ask in particular the member from Dufferin-Caledon, please, to hold on until he has the time to speak. So, the Honourable Prime Minister, please.
Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition is flailing in every way he can to try and divert the attention from the fact that his members voted against a request by President Zelensky himself to support a Canada-Ukraine free trade deal. The reality is his constituents across the country feel betrayed by the Conservative Party voting against Ukraine.
The Ukrainians asked for us to give missiles that Conservatives support to Ukraine, not to give turbines and detonators to Russia, which is what he has done. He has failed Ukrainians abroad, and he's failed Canadians at home. Canadians are good and decent people. They don't have to live this way. They do not have to give up the things they used to take for granted, like affordable food and homes, all for the incompetence and ego of one man. He is not worth the cost or the corruption. Will he call a carbon tax election so Canadians can decide?
He is to try and find any excuse he can to justify their voting against Ukraine. Suddenly, he's not talking about the price on pollution that Ukraine put in itself years ago. He's not using that as an excuse, even though that was all we heard as the justification for why they voted against Ukraine, voted against Ukrainian Canadians, voted against the reconstruction of Ukraine that we are committed to through a free trade agreement. He stood in this House and voted against Ukraine and is now trying to do anything he can to hide from it. He let down Ukraine, and that showed who he is.
Thank you for watching this episode of Stand on Guard and being a part of the KRAYDEN'S Right channel. If you've watched this episode to this point, you've watched it all. And that's really important for a small station like this. We always say subscribe, hit the bell, be a part of the KRAYDEN resistance. Resolve to resist. That's what we're doing. And if you become a subscriber, if you're a supporter of this station or a member through Substack, through YouTube, and now you can be a local as well, that's so important to us because I couldn't do this without you. I made a decision to become an independent journalist about a year ago because I wanted to bring all of my experience in the military, in journalism, to you. I don't promise anything I can't deliver. I don't offer clickbait. I offer truth. The truth is out there, and it's my job to bring that truth to light and to you. Thanks for being a part of the KRAYDEN'S Right resistance, and we'll see you again soon.
So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need a political change, but we also need to resolve to resist.